Hello everyone, Victor Tanzig here, and welcome to the Reddit Railway. Today's destination is r/malicious compliance, so all aboard! I used to work in political campaigning as an independent contractor. In other words, if we lose an election, I move on to the next race. I made a pretty good name for myself working on the lower levels of a campaign and moving up quickly. I was lucky enough to become a campaign manager during a statewide race. When the primary came up, we lost the election by 200 votes. Given we had lost by a slim margin and that I was 24 at the time, I became somewhat of a superstar in my field. As a result, I started receiving job offers from all over the state. I eventually became campaign manager for a local official, and I quickly learned my new boss, Karen, had a holier-than-thou personality. She made several comments about how real women breastfeed and have natural births. She also went on and on about how her husband was in the military and that she used to teach at a private school. I don't have time to list all the red flags, and I really wish I hadn't gone to work for her, but my husband had just lost his job, so I didn't have any choice. Karen's campaign staff was non-existent. It was literally just her. I ended up building the entire team from scratch. I got together a consultant, a fundraiser, and several support staff using many of the connections I had made during my time. I signed my contract and sent it to Karen, outlining the salary we had agreed on. There was also the stipulation if we raised enough money 3 months down the line, I'd get a raise. But if we didn't, my salary wouldn't be lowered. A few weeks before starting, I found out I was pregnant, and a week after joining the campaign, I was in a serious car accident. My baby was safe, but I had injured my back. This, coupled with my pregnancy, meant I couldn't do much. This wouldn't be a problem since my job can essentially be done from home, with the staff handling the rest. So that's what I did. I was proud of the work I was doing, even though only about 10% of my views aligned with the campaign. Then we hit a snag. Karen's husband was deployed to a rather dangerous place for a month, and she completely checked out. She stopped fundraising, so everything came to a halt. She didn't put in the legwork, and we lost some pretty important staff members. This meant I had to step back in and take on more tasks. We knew Karen was worried about her husband, so no one tried to push back very hard. We just put up with it and doubled our efforts. A couple of weeks later, my injury flared up as my pregnancy was growing. I told Karen I would once again have to step back from doing jobs like door knocking. I said we needed to hire someone else, but due to the lack of fundraising, we couldn't do that. We had a team meeting where I told Karen about all the things she wasn't doing. This led to her having a legitimate meltdown. She started yelling at me about how I wasn't doing my job. She said my pregnancy wasn't her problem and that I was the reason everything was falling apart. She then stormed off. This is where the malicious compliance comes in. I began delegating more of my tasks to the junior team members and focused exclusively on doing my specific duties. I pretty much went radio silent and she kept nitpicking at everything. Everyone on the campaign started to grow uneasy, but I told them to just hold on. Sure enough, she calls me up and says, "Since you're pregnant and can no longer door knock, you can either work for minimum wage or find another job." Mind you, she knew my husband had been out of work for 8 months and thought I had no other options. What she didn't know is that my husband had gotten a job that very day. So I thanked her for the opportunity and gave her my notice. I assured her I would remain on board until the campaign was over at the salary we had agreed upon. She began to scream at me about how she wasn't paying me a dime and started listing off every issue she had with the way I was doing my job. I stopped her mid-sentence. I thanked her once again and told her all of my tasks would be completed when I received payment for the last month I had worked. Yes, she was a month behind on paying me. I should point out my notice was 30 days and she was legally required to pay me out for that too, whether I continued working or not. She then threatened to fire me. I waited a few hours and she never finalized my termination in writing, so I sent her a letter thanking her for the opportunity and once again repeating everything we had discussed on the phone. She sent me a nasty email reiterating that I wouldn't be paid for anything and listed about 10 issues she had with me, including that I didn't wear makeup to work every day. I decided to send this email to the rest of the team. Within 5 minutes, everyone but her consultant quit. Also within that same period, a friend of mine offered me my dream job of working for him. Here's where things get tricky. I then realized my contract with Karen wasn't signed by by her. This means she wouldn't have to pay me anything. I thought I was screwed, and then Karen did me a favor. She starts sending emails to her consultant bad-mouthing me. Unfortunately for her, I still have access to the campaign email, and I'm seeing every message. She talks about how she wants to keep me on, but that I need to take less money. Specifically, she wanted to pay me less because I was pregnant. The consultant tells her that if she wants to fight the contract, he'd have a lawyer look over it, so she sends him a copy of the contract, which she has now signed. Now that it was valid, she would have to pay me my severance. Not only that, the flurry of emails allows me to file a wage discrimination suit for referencing my pregnancy as a reason for termination. I hire a lawyer. She continues to pester me about turning over all of my work, but since I'm an independent contractor, I only owe her a final product if I get paid. I tell her to take it up with my lawyer. She begins slandering me to everyone I know and continuing to send emails about me that I keep collecting. She then starts calling every friend she has to bully me into giving her what she wants. My response to all of them is, talk to my lawyer. In one last-ditch effort, she has the consultant call me, begging me to turn everything over. However, the consultant and I are personal friends, and he's really unhappy working for her. I tell him to tell her to talk to my lawyer. 5 minutes later, I get a call back from the consultant saying Karen had just fired him. He had refused to throw me under the bus and make up excuses for my termination. He then tells me that Karen's lawyer, the one who had overlooked the contract, had told her to pay me. Within 2 weeks, she's back to square one, with nobody on her side. She is out of money and struggling. She finally emails me at 11 p.m. that she is willing to pay. Given that it was dark and that I don't work for her anymore, I decide I don't need to respond at that moment. She starts calling and texting me incessantly. I ignored all of them. I wake up the following morning to 20 texts and 5 missed calls. I tell her I need to talk to my lawyer and that I'll get back to her. She goes nuclear. 25 minutes later, I get a call from the police. Karen had accused me of embezzling campaign funds and stealing her data. I have to get my lawyer on the phone and explain the whole situation. I provide the account information to the cops. I show them the funds are still there. Karen probably thought they had been stolen because she doesn't know how to access them, as I'm usually the one who does that. Or maybe she just wanted to discredit me. One of the officers thinks she's nuts at this point. He then informs me that it's considered larceny for Karen to withhold my pay and asks if I would like to press charges. I say, if she refuses to pay, then yes. I'm guessing the officer told this to Karen because within 2 days, I received a check in the mail for the full amount I was owed. The funny thing is, it cost Karen more money to pay me out than it would have if I had stayed on for the rest of the campaign. I turned everything over to her, but it didn't help her much. She ended up losing the election in a swing district by 15 points. I left campaigning soon afterward and will never go back. I am not proud of my job, nor did I love it, but a girl's gotta eat. Yep, you gotta do what you gotta do, and OP got a nice little payday for doing her job. Karen is a complete idiot, and I don't just mean judging by this story. You see, OP included a screenshot of one of the emails Karen sent to the consultant. It reads, I'm going to call OP on her bluff. The contract is ambiguous at best. I don't agree that a court will side with her, nor do I think that OP will take it that far, especially with a baby arriving soon. If she does, then she should be prepared for a fight. I'm not going to give her the extra $3,000. It would not be right to do so. The 30 days notice is for the intent of closing the campaign on the part of the employer or quitting on the part of the employee. I want my data and materials back, as well as access to my website. Only when I get them back will I mail her a check for $2,200. Make sure she understands this and end this situation today. Several folks on the campaign brought her social media posts to my attention this morning, expressed to OP that she is earning quite the reputation. Lovely. Blackmail on top of larceny. Yep, she's a complete idiot. You'd think a politician of all people would know that if you plan to do something shady, you don't put it in writing. Then again, if she hadn't, OP might have had a harder time getting her money, and it brought a smile to my face hearing Karen lost the election. The last thing the world needs is another clueless politician. Fuck you, Karen. And with that, I'll end the video here. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good one.